So welcome everyone. Happy New Year's, everyone. So this is our first episode of Re Ask the Experts for 2021. So this is the one and only show where we talk about real estate investing, and the viewers can come on live and ask their questions. In this episode, we are excited to have planner Pedro, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your last name right, but Albornoz. Is that right?
Yeah, that's good.
Albornoz?
That's close enough.
Close
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah.
as
Yes.
as our expert speaker. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us.
No worries. Appreciate the time and the
So
invitation too. So.
yeah. So Pedro, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good. So, I came to this country from Venezuela about 12 years ago, and I actually my background is architecture, but finances it's a topic that it doesn't matter what we do, we have to get involved, right? We all make money, and unfortunately, money doesn't come with a manual, right? So it's important to understand, especially in Canada. I see it as a minefield, right? So I got interested in understanding a little bit more about the system, and again, right, there's a lot of traps out there and a lot of opportunities. So I switched fields about 5 years ago, and yeah, this is what I do for a living. I help people to understand a little bit more about the system, so they can start asking questions, right? And whenever they decide to get products and services, right, there's a strategy behind, right? So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So uh, feel free to tell us then. Let's just start with the basics. What is financial
Good.
planning? Like, what does that encompass? Like, what should we be expecting from a financial planner?
Good. So it's not complicated. The industry like to kind of like portray it that way. But that's why it's so important to, again, right, to financial literacy, right, to start asking questions. So when it comes to finances, right, it's our relationship with money. I actually am reading, I'll recommend this book. I'm reading it right now. It's called Everything You Know About Money Is Wrong, right? That's the title of the and he talks about that whatever we know from money, or about money, it's stuff that we transfer from our parents or the people that we are surrounded with, right? So the lack of abundance of it has nothing to do with, again, with what we do for work, right? It's just that, right? It's just understanding that money is just what is it? It's just a means and methods to achieve things. You understand? So when it comes to finances, the first thing that we need to start asking, right, is what do we want money to do for us, right? A lot of people go in and start asking, okay, I want to make more money, right? And then for what? Like to pay off debt. And then, okay, so yeah, you pay debt, and then what are you going to do next? I don't know. Or yeah, I want to make a lot of money. For what? Because I want to buy properties, right? And then for what? Because I want to make more money. For what? And for what, right? So when we start asking this question, we need to understand that, again, money is just a means to acquire experiences, right? To buy for things. So the first thing that we need to ask ourselves is, what do we want money to do for us, right? And from that, we kind of like start talking about this stuff. Make sense?
Yeah, that's really awesome actually that you say that. That's very true. Sometimes people are just like it, it's very basic. Like I just need to make money, but then you don't
Mhm.
really think about what purpose. You're just kind of told like we need to work, we need to make money, and we need to just pay our bills. But then what do you do
Yeah.
with all that extra money? Like what are you doing for your future? Or like a lot of questions that we don't ask ourselves that we should be asking ourselves.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can, because I was
Share your
thinking
screen.
about, yes, and there's a, let me know, because
I think,
this is where everything starts. Am I good to share?
yeah, I think so. Try and see.
Perfect. So let me see. Okay, so you can see like the widescreen and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
So I'm gonna make some notes, right, really quick, right? So because this is again, this is how I start that conversation with everybody I sit down with. So right now you kind of like are my clients, right? So the main thing is we need to ask, right? Let's say 2021. At some point, everybody wants to achieve financial independence, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
If I ask you, would you like to, again, to get to that point, or you see yourself working for the rest of your life?
Some people do.
But this is the subtlety. There's a big difference between I want to work because I want to, as opposed I need to work because I have to.
100%. Or you're working, but you're doing what you enjoy, which is also a difference.
Exactly, it's a huge difference, right? But at some point, right, would you like to, again, okay, I want to travel, and I want to enjoy life, right? And I want to kind of like do that work because, again, right, your husband or your wife will kick you out of the house, right? Or you will kill each other if you spend too much time in the house, right?
Hmm.
For whatever reason, but at some point you want to have that option, right? And the main thing about this stuff is that financial independence is a condition, right? And most people, if I ask you, okay, Diana, right, if you ask everybody, at what age do you think that's going to happen? Financial independence or retirement, whatever you want to call it. At what age do you think it happens?
When the government says 65.
65, right? Now, what happens if I tell you that you can retire in 5 years from now?
Oh, very happy. I mean, that's my mission right now.
And that's it. So
Probably a
what's
little bit
retirement?
sooner, actually, to be
There you
honest.
go. Yes, but it all depends on, okay, what type of lifestyle do I want to enjoy? And it's very simple, how much it costs.
Hmm.
That's the starting point. So we need to start asking ourselves, okay, so how much money do I need to bring home right now without mortgage and stuff like that, right? So it's to enjoy, like travel, cars, and for some people it's $3,000. For some other people, oh, well, I'm planning to retire in Costa Rica and all I need is $500 a month or something, right?
Hmm.
Whatever it is, it's it's um it's unique for everybody,
Right.
right?
And I think one of the things that I feel like I find people think is a problem is that it's not unique. People for some reason think like, oh, this person needs like $5,000. I should probably be doing $5,000 too. And it's like we're so different, and
Yep,
it's just you want to focus on. We all have different needs, different wants, and
yep,
finding out what that is, like understanding in ourselves. Because I think the major problem was why people don't think about financial freedom is also because, to be honest, they don't have the time. All they do is work, 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 and
that's it.
don't think
Yep,
about what am I working for, like what are the goals, like setting the goals, which is, I'm assuming, probably another topic
yep,
you're going to start talking about, is setting the goals, right? It's
yep.
so it's yeah, it's so true. It's like people don't realize, like you said, like it could be super easy, like 5 years, why not have it done? And it's just something
Exactly. It
never
can
that's
be,
never
yep.
talked about, right?
You're absolutely right, and there's a reason, right? And that's what I'm going with this, right? Because there's a reason as to why most of us don't think about this stuff. Because at the end of the day, right, and this is what you come in, and this is probably why I'm talking about this stuff, because in order for us legally, of course, right, to get money without us having to work for, right, that comes in the form of assets, right? Some of you have heard that, right, that term, right? And asset, again, is just stuff that is going to pay us money, and it doesn't require us to be there. That's where the freedom comes in. And there's only three groups, right? Properties in rent or real estate, you have a business, and money, savings. That's it. It's like growing cows and chickens, right? And living off eggs and milk. You don't kill the cows, you don't kill the chickens. So that's it, right? So you invest in real estate properties, right? You rental income, right? You don't have to, of course, right? Some people, they like it, they go and visit and be active, right? Like supervising the properties, et cetera, right? But your level of involvement is optional, right? The second thing is a business, and a lot of people confuse business with being self-employed.
Yes,
I
100%.
ask around a lot of people, oh, yeah, I have a business. And what do you do? I'm in construction. So do you have to work? Yeah, I have to, because I have to support. You don't have a business, right? So because
100%.
the business doesn't require you to be there, right?
Hmm.
And the last one is money. One of the things that I specialize on. Why? Because, again, right, you have a bunch of money there, you pull out interest from it, right? The same thing as you get rental income, and you can live comfortably. So ideally, it should be a combination of those three things that will give you that money a month, Now, the problem is that most people these days cannot afford a house or don't know how to do it. We have a conversation this before, right? So they don't know. They have probably thousands of dollars saved over there, but there's no clear path or like an option. Okay, what can I do, right? It's not just buying properties here and there. You have to have a strategy. Why am I doing this, right?
Mhm.
The second thing, most people, right? They're working for somebody. They're not building anything. And the last one is most people are not saving, or even if they do it in the worst possible way,
100%.
right? Any questions so far?
I think it'd probably be good for you to expand on the business and self-employed because I think that's very true. I feel like it's a very misunderstood
Yep.
definition.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard about Robert Kiyosaki, right? He talks about the cash flow quadrant, right? So he talks about there's like four ways, right, to make money, right? When you have a job, when you're self-employed, when you have a business, and when you're an investor, right? So
Yep.
most people would like to be on this side, of course, but most people are on this side, and wealth is on this side, right? And the rest is here. So the difference is, for instance, right? Let's say you have a construction company, right? And you have a bunch of people that are like going out there and they're working, right? You're the CEO of the company, right? You're a CEO, or you're a shareholder, or you invest on that construction company, right? You get profit from it. There's people working, you pay their salaries, right? And there's no active involvement in you in there. The self-employed is the main question that we need to ask to to think whether if we are self-employed or have a business is what happened if I decided not to show up to work today
100%. Am I actually needed to be there, or I can just take that the day off, for example?
and I'm still gonna get paid. That's it. So whatever we're doing, and this is very important, I'm glad that you asked this question, is because whatever we're doing on our productive life, whether if it's 10, 15, 20, 25 years, if we want to get to that point when we don't depend or we don't have to show up in a place to get paid, we need to cultivate or build these three things or any of them, right? So, and then, because this is the thing, a lot of people think that, let's say, if I have a house today and I have a mortgage, that's an asset that I have, and it's not. For most people, it's not. It's a liability.
Mhm.
Why? Because like the main difference between an asset and a liability, right? The asset produce money, the liability costs money, right? At some point, of course, that house that homeowners have, right? At some point, it's going to be paid off, right? And that turns into an asset. But for most people, it's a liability because you're paying for this. You're getting out of you're working. You have to work and pay that mortgage.
Yeah. Even the bills
Unless
that is involved in it, right? You still have utilities and stuff. So
it,
even
it,
after that
it,
mortgage is paid, you're still paying taxes and utilities for it. So technically, it will always be a liability. It's just
exactly, it will be. And people will say, okay, well, Pedro, but the equity, right? No, it's still because the equity in a house, you will have to sell it, right, in order to get that equity out of it, right? And again, I'm going to go into that because they're sensitive topics, right? But the thing is that attack what the money that you put in a tax-free saving account and the equity in a house are the only two ways of people to grow their money, right? And be tax free. And banks know, lenders know this stuff, right? So the equity in the household needs to be protected. And whatever you're gonna do with it, you have to have an strategy. And this is a conversation we have, right? So because a lot of people go in and use their equity in their house to renovate a kitchen for the pleasure of it. You understand? So it's just
yeah.
it's important to start asking questions, right? Like, what do I really want? Again, right? Coming back to the same thing. What do I really want money to do for me? And what am I going to do with all of this stuff that are around me to get there?
Mhm.
Because money is just money, right? I can have 13 properties out there, but cash flow is zero. right? So it's important to ask ourselves that question, right? Like what I want money to do for me, and then everything comes from that. Make sense?
Yeah. And then just clarifying, because you were talking about your personal residence in that scenario, right? That it's a
Exactly.
liability because it's your personal residence, it's not
Yep.
making money unless if you house hack, which I'm not sure if you know those terms, but unless if you're house hacking, like living in one part of your house and the other part is being rented, then at least it's less of a
That's
liability.
awesome. That'll be at the ideal. Even if you break even, that's not a, because it doesn't require from your money. You understand? So that's why it's important. That's why I put there like a property fully pay, or a property that it's the ideal situation. You know, this is you get a property and you put tenants in there, and the tenants will pay for everything. But this day is kind of like it's a challenge to find something like this. You have to look, right, for you to kind of like get into a property and invest in it, and then put tenants on it, right, and then break even or get some cash flow, right? So you might kind of like get into this, but that's the ideal situation,
Hmm.
right, to kind of like get there, right? But now for most people, again, all they have left is the saving portion, right? So and this is what I like to do to explain as to why this is an issue, because it doesn't matter the money we make in Canada, we're going to be served by three group of companies, financially speaking: banks, right, and I include in here like what is it,
Like Bank of
oh,
Montreal,
yeah, the
Scotiabank.
banks, and but there's credit unions and second lenders and all that stuff, right? Then we have insurance companies, and then investment companies. Those are the three group of companies that they're going to serve everybody in Canada. Now the problem is that most people are served by these two, because remember, right, investment companies, right, investment firms, mutual fund firms, right, they make money out of the growth of the money that they help their investors make. That's their business. But traditional financial planner, or the traditional portfolio manager, they're not going to sit down with somebody unless there's like $250,000 there sitting in an account, right? And most people, because of this situation, don't have access to that. So that's why it's so important to start asking questions, right, about, okay, what am I doing with this 10, 20, what, how am I preparing for that time, right? And the reason why I mentioned this is because at the beginning of our conversation, I said the Canadian marketplace, a financial marketplace, is like a minefield, right? Because we need to understand this stuff, right?
100%.
The money needs to grow, and there's if I and I always said this, right? If you can remember something from this conversation, I want people to remember this concept: compound interest. Have you heard about that?
Yes. But tell us, what is it?
Well, it's like a snowball effect, right? It can act on your favor or against you,
Would you
right?
like to
And the
give an
importance of,
example?
yes, there's a concept called rule of 72. It's a rule. It's a financial rule, right? And what it does is it explains the importance of looking at what the interest rate our money is growing at. So the rule says that if you divide 72 over that interest rate, it's going to give you the amount of years that money is going to take to double. I'm going to give you an example. So if I have $10,000 saved, and I'm saving at 1%, which is what most people offer, less than that, right? On high interest saving accounts. If I divide 72 over 1, that's 72 years. So it will take 72 years for that 10,000 to turn into another 10,000 if you're saving at 1%. How
Hmm.
old are you going to be in 72 then? 92?
That's gonna be insane.
Right? So, but now look at this, right? So if I'm saving the same 10,000, sorry, yes, 10,000, right? But at 9%, that's what? 8 years. It's a huge difference.
100%.
So the main thing we need to understand is, hey, I need to look, if I want to, going back to here, right? So if I want to accumulate a certain amount of money so I can comfortably say, I don't need to work anymore. I need to look at what my money is growing at. Unfortunately, right, this stuff most people don't know because we only have access to these two institutions. So banks, right? What's the main profit generator thing that they do, right? Debt, right? So credit cards at 20%, 1% on interest rate, right? So that's what they do, and there's just nothing wrong with it. It's just it is what it is, right? Now, another concept that I like to talk, and the only reason why I talk about this stuff is because the insurance industry, right? When it comes to this stuff, right? Insurance is just, again, it's just a bill, another bill. It's a peace of mind. That's what it is, right? It's like car insurance, it's like house insurance and all that stuff. But in the insurance industry, they like to sell, right, insurance as a way to save money. It's called cash value. And the only reason why they do this is because, again, right, the more insurance they get to sell to somebody, the more money they make. So most people, unfortunately, right, they don't have idea about this stuff. There's no strategy behind. There's no way that most people will know about the importance of, the 1% and 8%. There's nothing for them. Just a bank, right? The local bank at 1% a credit card, and an expensive life insurance, right, as a way to save money. So this is why it's so important to, again, part of or the booklet that I'm gonna share. So it's this one. It's called How Money Works. Talks about this stuff. Of course, right? My drawings are better than this ones for sure, right? But it talks about this stuff, right? So take control, right? Pay yourself first, right? This is very important. Most of us, right, don't really take a close look at how our money is flowing in our households, right? That's why I got interested in this stuff, because we start paying things but we forget to pay yourself. Oh,
Hmm.
I don't have money to save, right? And that's critical.
It is, because that's even like that may even give you problems in confidence, because if you don't think you're important enough to pay yourself and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, like you don't realize the impact that actually that has on you. Like you think
Mhm.
like, oh, it's fine, but you start devaluing yourself if you're not thinking about yourself paying yourself.
That's absolutely right, and that's it's just it's mindset more than anything,
100%.
right? I know people that makes $150,000 and they cannot save $100 a month. And I know kids that work at McDonald's that save 300, $500 a month,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just a matter of, like, again, right, our relationship with money, right? Some people, they go and say, because we don't know, right? So some people go and, I would like to travel every single year. Good. How much does that cost? About 300, like $5,000 a month. Sorry, a year, right? Okay, $5,000. That's about 416 bucks or 17 bucks a month, and you're spending 500 on Uber Eats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you don't sit down and understand that this instant pleasure can turn into a way better experience with my family in another place, right? There's no way that you understand that I will take those necessary steps to kind of like introduce that new habit in my life, right? So that's
100%.
why reading about this stuff is important, right? So concepts like get away from credit cards, right? Have a plan, right? Same thing, right? There are three type of savings. People think that you just, okay, I'm going to put money in there, and there are three types, right? The emergency fund is the main one, then travel and immediate needs, right, from a year or three, and the long term. So we need to treat our house, our financial house, as compartments, where we start putting, even if we have left $100, okay, I'm going to put $10 here, $20 here, 35, right? It's just creating the habit, right? Time and consistency, right? The importance of starting now, because it's a snowball effect, right? So it's become aware of this stuff, right? It's gonna take longer. The longer we wait, see, and this is what they explain. The longer we wait, the more money we'll have to put down the road, right? It talks about the rule of 72, right? Like what I just explained. right? Paying off debt, right? The right type of insurance, stay away from cash value, right? Understand your needs, right? What do you really need? Because remember, insurance again, right? It's a temporary need for people that have kids and they have a mortgage in 25 years from now. This is a question I always ask. In 25, 30 years from now, right? There's the kids are gonna grow, they're gonna be big, right? Like the house is gonna be fully paid. The risk of dying prematurely, it's very low compared with the risk of getting to 60, 65, 70 and being unprepared. That's a reality. So what we need to focus is, and like I mentioned before, is just to create assets, get into real estate, a business, or saving money and look at what is growing at, right? So this stuff talks about this, right? So taxes, understanding what a tax-free saving account is versus an RRSP, right? A lot of people use their tax-free saving account in the bank as a checking account, not understanding that, and I'm gonna use this as example, right? So this is a compound interest calculator. There's like tons out there. I like this one because it's I like the layout, right? It's from the Ontario Securities Commission, and this is the importance of it. Let's say I put $300 on the side. Which bank do you bank with? Yeah, I'm going to use you as an example.
BMO.
BMO, right? So do you know any other big bank out there, or have you ever dealt with any big bank?
Other big banks,
Yep,
Scotia.
Scotia, right? So if you look at it, right, all the banks are the same thing, right? If I'm take a look at the interest rate on their savings account, right, it's right 0.3 is the introductory one, so it's 0.05, 0.3. If I'm going to the momentum, let's say this one here, right, it's exactly the same. 0.05 is horrible, but that's what it is, right? So if I'm going here, right, and then $300, let's say at 1%, let's say 25 years down the road, that's it, $100,000. How can someone retire with $100,000? So imagine that you've been saving $300 for 25 years in the bank, and all you have, it's $100,000.
Yeah. You
Now, but look at
probably
this, right?
have a year worth of living, maybe 2 years. I don't know.
2 years.
Two
That's it. So
years of living.
you're forced to go back to work. But look, and let's say I'm going to be conservative, right? I'm going to change this to 8%. Same amount of money, same time. How much that is? And this is what the compound interest come in, right? So it took 25 years to accumulate 274, right? If I add, I'm just going to add 5 more years. How much that is? Almost double. See, so it's really important to start looking at this stuff closely. That's what we had, and I really appreciate you letting me hear, because again, right, just planting seeds so people can start asking, oh, they start looking at their stupid life insurance. If they have one of those, start looking at that, because they're offer that way of I'm saving money, and it's one of the worst products ever out there. Why? Because again, right, it doesn't protect your family the way it should be, and the money that is invested in there, it's horrible. It's really is, and it's all there on the policy. It's all there on the stuff, right? So that's why stay away from it and look at the interest rate, right? So that's pretty much it, right? So tax-free saving accounts, that's the first account that you should cap on. If you have never contributed an RSP, I think it's in a tax-free saving account, I think the limit is 67, almost $70,000, right? And then you can go to RRSP. But
And do
RRSP,
you want to give people an explanation of what the two
yep,
are?
absolutely. So the tax-free saving account is the easiest thing, right? You put money in there, the growth of the money. You remember this stuff here, like this interest rate, right? This $300,000, that's tax-free if you put it in a tax-free saving account. You can have 10, 15 tax-free saving account as long as you don't over contribute.
And what can you do with a tax-free savings account?
The tax-free saving account should be if I'm going back here to this stuff, the three ways of saving. See, the long-term account. You use the bank for emergency fund, and for short term. The tax-free saving account is that account that you should use for long term.
Investment.
Education, retirement, investment for long-term purposes,
Hmm. But
right?
I'm
Because you
saying
need
to
to grow.
compound it. Sorry, I meant for compounding it. What can you
You got it.
do? What can you do to with your tax-free savings account to compound?
You need to look for someone, right, that talks to you about investments. To put that money, you can open a tax-free saving account. And if you're not growing that money, if you're not putting that money into at least 7% return, right, then you just lose it.
Yeah. So you can put
Yeah,
it into mutual funds, stock.
exactly.
What
Yeah.
other things can you invest in?
So you can invest, there's different things, right? Like the easiest, and I have this comparison before. You can go, tax-free saving account is the easiest one, right? You can go and put it on a segregated fund, or you can put it in a mutual fund, right? In a portfolio. So you talk to somebody, right? Like it has to have the mutual fund license, right? Or the life one. So you can either put it in a segregated fund or a mutual fund and make that money to, again, right, put it in a portfolio that it's the balance, or the, let's say, uh, the mixture in the portfolio, right, expose you to what is it, mainly equities, right, than bonds, because again, right, but this is long term. So it should be aimed, right, to at least give you a 7%, 8% like return, right, average, right, yearly,
Hmm. And just
right?
to clarify for
Yeah.
people, a tax-free savings account is basically each year we get taxed on all our income that we make. So
Yep.
if you're putting your money into this tax-free savings account, anything that you make, so let's say you put in stocks or mutual funds, you're actually, let's say if you made $5,000 that year, that is
Mhm.
not taxed. So it doesn't increase your income.
Exactly, you got it. So the tax-free saving account, that's the way called. So the growth that the money is experienced is not taxable. It's not considered income. So that's why it's so great.
Mhm. And so
The
let's talk about RSPs. Oh,
the
sorry.
RSP, the RSP is it's a bit different, right? The RSP, you have to pay taxes for it. So you need to know how to use it. So like when you put money on an RSPs, it's kind of like locked in there. And once it's in there, you can withdraw it, right, for three purposes without getting into the tax implications, right? To buy a house for the first time, right? I think they increased the amount to 30,000, correct?
I think
Right?
so. Did they? Oh yeah, that's good to know. I
Yes.
mean, I already used mine a long time ago, but good to
Yeah.
know. For the
But you can
viewers,
use
it's
it
good to
again.
know.
But you can use it again, right? If you are in a house and you've been living there for, I believe, 2 years, then you can reuse it again. You can apply it and buy you can apply for the first time home buyer, right? I believe after 2 years. Check that with a mortgage broker, because you can do that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So after that, right? Okay, you have to repay. You have like 15 years to repay that money or put that money back into the RSP, right? You can take it out for educational purposes or in retirement, right? 65, 70. The advantage of the RSPs is that it's the only way for an employee to get some taxes back. This is, and I'm going to explain it here. So let's say you make $100,000 on 2020, right?
Like that's your income,
The income,
or
yes.
okay.
This is the income. So just for the calculations, right? Let's say your income bracket is 25%. Probably a little bit more, but I'm just going to put it in there, right? So you have to pay $25,000 on taxes. Okay.
Yep.
Let's say during that year or between January to March, right? You contributed in an RSP based on your on your limit, right? Because the limit is it's set by the CRA based on different factors. But you go to the CRA online, or you get on your notice of assessment, you get there on the first page, right? How much room do you have for RSPs? So let's say you contribute to that RSP 20,000 bucks. This is just an example, right? You open an RSP, I don't know, on TD or on a mutual fund company, whatever, right? What CRA do is or does is that now when it comes to, okay, you pay, you got your deductions, right, throughout the year, right? And they took $25,000 from your paycheck. You talk to your accountant, you say, I contribute 20,000. They send the paperwork. And then the CRA, what it does is, oh, I calculate your taxes based on $100,000. So they do a recalculation and they say, oh, you contributed to RRSP. So what this thing does is reduce your taxable income, right? So now they go back and say, oh, we should have calculate your income on 80,000, not 100. So your taxes should have been, what's 25% of 80,000? That's 20,000, correct? So your taxes shouldn't be 20, not 25. So what they do is they issue a reimbursement, right? So they give you back 5,000 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of like the easiest explanation.
Yeah.
Correct.
But then in the future, though.
Yeah, that's where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm leading you there.
Yes. Now, this is what the strategy, this is what's going to happen. This is a strategy, that stuff that you can do with this money. Because what happened is that $20,000 that you put in there, right, let's say you put it here in 2021, or like, let's say you're 40 years old. When you decided to take this money out, say at 65, 70, you take this $20,000, you're gonna get paid, you're gonna pay taxes on this $20,000 based on your income at that point. So you
As
do
you
pay
withdraw
taxes on
it,
this.
as you withdraw
Right?
it, as you withdraw the money.
Yes, as you withdraw it, right? So that the RSP have to turn into a RIF, or I can't remember what's the account, right? So that you can get it on a monthly basis, or they set it up by the government, right? Now, this is what I have a couple of clients, right? They're high net worth individuals, that this is what they do. Every single year that they get this refund, they put it on a tax-free saving account. So their
But is that,
RSPs, yep.
sorry, is that, but that's not, I mean, I think you're going to explain it, because that's not just
Yep.
because that 5,000 isn't considered income, but I guess you're going to do it to generate income. Is that the purpose?
Exactly, because if he does this every single year, by the time he gets to withdraw this money, the contribution that how do you call that? The money that he's giving, that he's getting back from the government, he's being put in a tax-free saving account every single year. So what's going to happen is that this money is going to pay for the taxes that he's going to pay when he starts withdrawing this money.
Yeah. And actually curious to know what you say about this. But you decide what your income will be when you're ready to retire, right?
Well, yes, it depends, right? If you're self-employed, right, you decide what it is, or you just basically go, you know what, I don't have no income, or the income I'm getting is from my investments, or it's rental income, or it's going to be self-employed. Like, you decide what you're going to be doing at that point.
Mm-hmm. So the benefit of putting into RSPs is
Yep.
then basically
This money.
deferring your,
Yep.
well, it's also to defer the taxes, and to technically, as the assumption is that you're never going to be making as much money as you were working as you are retired. So technically you are paying less taxes, because
You got
you're paying right now, you're getting paid, let's say 100K now, but then in the future maybe it'd be less a month, like let's say 20, 30K, because you're
Yep.
worried
Yep.
about your basic expenses and your smaller
Yep.
income. So instead of getting
Yep.
paid at 100K, now this money is getting paid. I mean, your income is your income,
30.
you're gonna be getting taxed on 20K or 30K.
Exactly, or 30 or whatever, independing the nature of that income, because this is very important too. And this is what I said to people. Let's say, let's say I have a property, right? Today. Let's say I have a property fully paid, and that property is making me $1,000. This is rental income. I have a job, right? That is making me the same 1,000. I'm self-employed, same 1,000. And I have a portfolio, 1,000. Which one of these ones do you think pays more taxes?
Pays more taxes?
Yep.
Doesn't all of it pay the same?
Yeah, they all pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
But which one do you think, right? Or which type of income you can play more and try to kind of like lower the taxes that you pay on?
Oh, everything except the job, probably. I don't know, actually, to be honest. That's a good
Well,
question.
there you go, right? So, and this is the stuff that, see, it comes with a strategy, right? Because when you have a rental property, right, you can, again, use some of the repairments and stuff like you do, right? And kind of like decrease, right, the operational expenses, right? And decrease the taxes that you pay on this income. But rental income is heavily taxed.
Yeah.
Right? For the job, it's kind of like the same thing, right? But you have RRSPs, right? That you can lower a little bit like the taxable income. For self-employed, you are in a better position, right? Because again, right, you can use, right, you can go and say, I'm paying too much taxes on this stuff, right? Rather than paying this taxes or giving $20,000, right? I'm gonna get a car, a nice car, or I'm gonna get a vacation, right, or whatever, right? And it's like you write it off, right, from your taxes as a business expense. And remember that in a portfolio, right, the distribution, right, it also come in 4 different ways, right? I'm gonna get into too much details on it, but yeah, you have capital gains, right? You have foreign dividends, right? You have Canadian dividends, and you have interest. There are portfolios out there that all they do now, like capital gains and interest, capital gains and interest are the ones that are like pay more taxes. Dividends pay less. And Canadian dividends are the ones that pay the least amount. So there are portfolios that pay Canadian dividends only, and they use the losses of that company, that fund company, right, to kind of like take those, they use those losses, right, and then they use it against that income that you get. So
That's
there's different
interesting.
strategies. Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
very
So for
interesting.
Canadian dividends,
Yeah,
is that just an incentive that I guess that they have in Canada to
yeah,
make you invest
yeah,
more in Canadian companies
exactly,
and stuff? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know
exactly.
that.
Yeah, but it's important to see also in your portfolio, right? Because I like to see this too, right? So you see the CPP, right? A lot of people invest on the CPP, right? And the portfolio managers on the CPP, they are well known because of like all the money that is invested in there, correct? So this is the CPP website, and sorry, I don't know if this, you can go and take a look, but I use this most of the time as a way to understand people, or to help them understand people where you should have your money on and why, right? If I'm going here, investor strategy, I think is in here. Most of the money that it's put on from the CPP, right, it's allocated around the world. It's not in Canada. I believe only 60% goes in Canada. I need to look at it. I'm not gonna get into too much detail on it, but it's there. So like they change this stuff every single year. But the point is that when it comes to what I'm gonna invest, if I'm looking, and this is the problem again, right? That going into like a bank, and the bank is putting you in this cookie cutter portfolios, right? That is, it's very clear as to why this portfolios only do 2 or 3 or 4, right? Because most of the investments is on Canadian soil, when it should be, right, you invest 15, 18%, right, of your portfolio should be in Canadian soil, but most of it should be on the States, which where the growth is, and emerging like countries, right, like Asia and stuff like that, right? But I don't do that stuff. but I understand the basics of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I said, it's not complicated. It's just a matter of like having a conversation with someone, let's say like me, right? It doesn't have to be with me, but someone like me, right? That has that this type of, because finances like this stuff, it's not complicated. The industry make it kind of like look at that way. So, we remain like ignorance, right? Because it's it's good for business, most of it.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but that this booklet, right, actually explain a little bit about that stuff, right? Oh, sorry, right? The bypass, the middle name, right? And that with this, I'm not talking about you going into, because this is the other thing, right? Some people go into forex, right? And they start like, that's gambling. And sorry if I'm stepping in someone's toes, right? But that's what it is. You're gambling, right? It's like you just and this, it's fun, right? It's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you need to understand what's required, right? Uh, if you want to be successful at that, right? You're trading. So trading, that means that you don't sleep, right? You have to wake up at 3 or 4 whenever market
Yeah,
in
it's a
China.
business on its own. Like you have to put your
Exactly,
100%
exactly.
energy into
It's
it if you
it's
don't want to lose all your money.
exactly. It's awesome. It's really fun, right? But again, right? It's, you want to have your money, right, professionally managed, unless you are kind of like the next Warren Buffett, right? And then, okay, I'm gonna start, and I have clients that are like that. They say, okay, Pedro, but I like this stuff. That's awesome, right? You have $500 to save for the future. Take 100 and do whatever you want, right?
Mhm.
And then let's take this 400 with a fun company, and then they will manage it for you, right? So
100%. I totally agree with
yeah,
you in that sense. It's like understanding that, let's say, like you do like to invest or you do like to do your own thing, and like,
yeah,
fine, have your percentage aside, but then have
yeah.
that other percentage aside for your safe funds, where it's just like you have your play
Yeah.
money and then you have your funds where it's just like my future.
Exactly. You have to make a difference between a business and a hobby, right? Like it's very important to have that distinction, right? So again, right, he talks about here about fluctuation. When people, now this is a really quick question for you. What do you think you're going to make more money, on the red one or the blue one?
I don't know what's the red one. Unit
The
per
red one,
price,
right?
fluctuating market,
Now
rising
what do you
market.
think, just which one, if you get to choose, right? I'm going to take the A or the B with my money. Which line would you take, A or B?
Probably A.
Of course, that's what most people will take, but you make more money on this one, and
After
most
the
people
six
don't know
months, I
about
guess,
stuff.
because you're talking about after 6 months. I'm not, what is
Well,
actually, what is this graph telling us?
I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you bought a house 5 years ago for $100,000, and COVID hits, right? And now that house worth 80. Would you sell it? No. What would you do at that point if you have extra money?
Just keep it? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
And what
Yeah.
else would you do? Like if all the house prices are like going like down, right, or they're down, what would you do at that point?
Probably invest in another property.
Exactly, just buy more. You understand? And what would you do when the house, it's like worth $500,000?
Then you sell it.
You
Yeah.
sell it. So it's the same thing when it comes to investments, right? When actually when COVID hits, that was the exact moment for me to start saying, because you're buying cheap, you're
Mm-hmm.
buying pieces of companies all over the place, right? So
Yeah. Everything's
you're
going on sale at that time. Take
ex-
advantage.
exactly, that's what the fluctuations comes in. So we need to understand this stuff. When people go and say, oh, my market value, and this is what the ignorance comes in. Oh, like I'm seeing my market value going down, I'm going to pull out. Don't. You don't
Yeah.
understand. That's where the education comes from, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to understand that concept when it comes to, but of course, I go over this with people so they understand, they're prepared,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and that's true. That's sometimes why having a financial planner is so good, because a lot of people do get very emotional and make
Yeah.
decisions on the fly, and sometimes your financial planner is kind of there to be like,
Yeah.
no, this is okay, or like that buying in. Because, for example, a lot of people say like, oh, selling at the top or the bottom, timing the market. It's not, because it's also like, yeah, you do want to do it, but you're never going to sell at the top. But you're gonna, as long as you're selling close to there, like when it's going up and
That's
it's like
it.
you're making your profits, like that's all you want. Like you want to take advantage of that,
Yeah,
obviously. Or
yeah.
like that, like especially with COVID. Oh my God, that was like that drop was insane. I was just like, how far will it go?
It's a bit, that's what it is. And there's a lot of I have portfolios that actually they did 50%, and I make a joke, right? Not even cocaine it's doing that well, right? So because
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? So but again, and also tell people, don't expect this rate of return to be like that all the time, right? Like again, there's like people going out there, okay, I invested in Tesla, right? And now this thing, that's good, but that's gambling. You understand? So you can go and play hard, right? And yeah, make a lot of money. If that's what you want to do, that's awesome. Bless you.
Thank you. I try to
Right?
mute that.
You did, but I
Okay.
saw the camera. So that's pretty much it, right? So it's not complicated. It's just kind of like have someone to kind of like help you out, right? To kind of like put together like a plan. And what I recommend people is just to stay away from insurance as a way to save money, and look at the interest rate your money's growing at. Those are the two things that I always kind of like recommend people.
Yeah. I'm surprised actually. I didn't know people considered insurance for saving money. Like you're not talking about like buying insurance stocks. You're talking about like people actually buy insurance, like
Yep.
a plan, an insurance plan, and they use
Yeah.
that as savings.
Yeah, because it's pretty easy to sell it, right? So if I'm going here, I'm going to explain how it works, right? So let's say I have two fridges in here, right? This is fridge number A and fridge number B. And I'm going to say both of them, they're going to break down in 25 years. Both of them,
Sadly, I
right? So
feel like
yeah,
now it's like
yeah.
5 years.
Yes, I know. But let's say a good one, right, from the old age, right? So and they're gonna last 25 years. Of course, right? This is now you can see that this is an example. It's not gonna happen these
I
days,
know, I
right?
was just like I was sulking in my fridges that I know that things will fall apart so quickly
Oh
these
yeah, I know. But it's business, right? So they want you to buy one in 5 years, right? Or less. So let's say both of them are gonna broke in 25, right? So now this one I'm gonna sell it to you for 2,000, let's say $6,000. But at the end of the 25, I'm going to give you back 3,000. Okay. And this one, I'm going to sell it to you at 2,000, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you anything. Now, naturally, which one are you going to pick? The one that you get something or the one you don't get something?
So who am I, the buyer or the seller?
Yeah, you're the buyer, right? So I'm buying this too. So which one natural are you going to buy? The
Okay, you
one
want
that,
to buy the cheaper one.
now, the one that you get something or the one you don't get anything?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, then I guess you'd want, yeah, sorry, the one that you get
Yeah.
something. Sorry, I thought
You see
I thought
how,
the buyer got that. The who oh
what?
so sorry, I was thinking the seller got the 3,000. So you're saying that
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I'm gonna
seller
give you $3,000 right back. So
Oh, okay.
naturally, you're gonna pick what? The one that
Yeah.
you get something back, right?
Yeah.
Did you see how I sold it to you? The words that I use naturally, of course. See, it's all emotions. I
Mm-hmm.
sold it to you as you will be stupid if you select the other option,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even took the time to look at this. If you put 6,000 and I give you back three, how much actually cost you?
3,000.
Now, which one would you want to buy?
B.
The one at three or the one at two?
2.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
see? These contracts are very complicated. And the only reason why they're sold is because it brings more revenue to the guys that sell them. Because insurance, again, for some people, right, when we need to understand the concept of insurance, right? Insurance is, let's say this is you, Diana, right? And this is your husband, right? You both bring money to the household, and that money is used to pay bills, lifestyle, and savings, correct? If all of this is $6,000 a month and you bring three and you bring three, if your husband pass away, right, prematurely, God forbidden, right, where are you going to get this $3,000 from?
Also, the insurance you're talking about is life insurance? Is that
Yeah,
what
life
the?
insurance. That's it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
Right. So that's it. That's what it is, right? It's very simple. It's just the only reason why I talk about it is because, okay, if you need it, it's very cheap, right? It's just because the chances of something like that happening is very low. So what you need now, the main thing that you need to think about is this. You have to do that calculation. That's why we need to have the budget sheet done, right? To see what's your worth financially speaking in your household. So the main thing, because if this is 3,000 and you make 3,000, if he passes away, it doesn't, I mean, it's not that it doesn't matter, right? But it's not going to affect you financially speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a harder hit on you
Exactly. It
financially.
won't. It won't affect you financially speaking, right? That's it. Now, the other question you need to ask, okay, yeah, but I do have means and methods to replace that 3,000. Okay, I have $600,000 safe at 6%. That's $36,000 a year. I divide that over 12, and that's 3,000. Done. The problem is that most people don't, in that situation, most people don't have anything that will replace that other income in case something happens.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that's why these guys here, insurance, they know that, but they sell the most expensive option because it brings more revenue to the companies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why, see, when I said, see, right, the two companies that most people are going to have access to is an insurance agent that most likely is going to sell you that crap, right? Or the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to, because we won't have access to this unless, right, someone will take you. Like a financial guy that have their license and stuff like that will take you for, okay, well, I can connect you with this company for hook you up, right, for $25 a month. Or there are companies out there that can do that. But we need to understand the concept. Stay away from this and start asking questions, right? Ask questions, ask questions, right? Like with different people. Okay, show me, and show me the numbers. And if you get into a piece of paper, right, become curious about this stuff. What does this thing means, right? And if that person doesn't know how to answer this question, just move to the next one.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah, that totally makes
Right?
sense. So first, do you have any questions? I feel like I have like absorbed. I did all the questions, so I feel like at least give Hirsch a chance to ask something if you do.
Yeah. So, I was actually gonna do. So when you the people who are stuck with banks and with the insurance, um, they obviously have no money, right?
Yeah.
So why would they go to you? How would you help them? Like, would you just basically offset what they're paying for insurance to invest? Like, if
Well,
they don't
that's
have thousands and thousands of dollars, why would
yeah.
they come to
That
you?
that
Or
that's a good question. So, and
yeah,
that's what I exist. That's what I exist. So I sit.
mm,
The first thing I sit down with somebody is to do a plan. That's the main thing, right? It
yep,
doesn't cost anything to people because that's what they need. So
mm,
the purpose of that plan is just basically look for ways that you can understand how the money is flowing in your household. And 99.9% of the times that I've done that exercise, I always find money that you can put aside.
okay.
Always. It's just a matter if it's just do it with a purpose. So,
Would you get rid of their insurance?
uh,
Or would
no,
you
no,
wait till, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, would you say
exactly.
get
No,
rid of it or?
no, the first thing is understand why do you have it
Hmm.
and what do you need it for and what's your needs for insurance. That's the main thing,
Okay.
right? And then after that, it's just the concept first, and
Hmm.
then the product goes last.
And also another question, like, so, like us as a real estate, we know like TFSAs and RSPs can be used for buying real estate.
Yep.
Do you guide people to invest
Oh
in
yeah.
any type of, okay, so doing like other real estate loans or lending from your end?
Oh yeah. Like
Okay.
I always encourage people. See, that's what I do. These three things, right? For me,
Hmm.
real estate, it's heaven, right?
Okay.
It's one of the best way for you to capitalize yourself. It's a buy a house. I always encourage people to do that, but also put money on the side. So it's not like real estate is better than investments.
Hmm.
Or having a business is because it's silly to go that way, right? It's me comparing chicken with meat and fish, right? It's different things. It's understanding what can I do with each, understanding the concepts behind each vehicle, and make it work based on what we want
Okay.
money to do for us.
So you would say like somebody had like 50 grand or something,
Yeah.
would you be like a, I don't know what I was thinking about. So like would you lend that 50 grand to somebody to make 15, 20%? Would you do
Well,
that type of thing?
well, no, like I don't lend money, right?
No, but like it's still like
Yeah.
a financial type of thing. Like, okay, hey, we can, instead of doing the stocks, we can make your money grow by lending it out. Like as just like a bank. Like you're still doing
Yeah.
something like what a bank does. Like you
No,
guys
no,
got those things?
no,
Okay.
we don't do that.
So you're
What we
more
do, yeah, it's
market.
just putting that money into the market, right?
Okay.
Whether if it's stocks or bonds, or depending your horizon, right?
Okay.
You seem pretty young, right? So okay, I want this money. I want to buy a house in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I put together a portfolio, right? Let's say in an RSP.
Yep.
So you make sure that it grows steadily, right?
Yep.
Right. So you will be ready in 5 years for you to buy a house, right? If it takes a little bit longer, that's okay. But the main thing is to prepare you, to make a plan so you can get to the point, right? I go to the extent to go and let's say go here, right? So there's a calculator. I don't have it in here right now, but it's a calculator for mortgages, right?
Okay.
I go and sit down with people. Okay, so how much money you make? Oh, well, I make between the two of us are 60, 70,000. Okay, so you can probably afford this type of mortgage, right? So you have all these debts. There's a concept called debt stacking, right?
Yep.
That helps people to pay off debt as soon as possible, so they can fix and they can put themselves in a position so they can buy a house, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
that type of things.
Okay. No, that's like that. I was wondering like what if there's different types of financial advisors. Like I know financial advisors usually work with the market and work with like
Yeah,
there's different levels of financial markets, financial advisors too, right? Like I don't.
Yeah.
Everybody's a financial advisor. Like if you work for investor group or if you work for one of them other companies, or if you're a private financial advisor, like I'm just not sure. Like is there such thing as a financial advisor that gears himself towards working
and that's
with
a good question.
like what real estate, like lending and all that stuff, and also the market, like using the real estate also as a driver instead of like you wanting to buy it, like making money off of it by not buying it, but you're still making 20%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there was a difference. So most likely, I guess all financial advisors, they do more market stuff, which is good for diversifying, obviously. So okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the only limitation is like, again, right? Financial advisors, they make money out of all of us, right? We make money out of the growth of the money. So most people don't have like $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, right? Like sitting there, right, doing nothing. Right? So that's kind of like and I serve those ones, but I concentrate on Main Street, right? Like people that
regular people.
You are like exposed to just and sorry, right? I don't want to step in anybody's toes, but a cash value agent, right? Or banks, right? So so.
Okay. No, obviously you guys would do more than what a bank would do, or like what a specialized company like whatever, Primerica and all those guys do. So there is a difference from what you are compared to what Primerica is, right?
Yeah. Well, I work for Primerica.
Okay, so Primerica. So what's the difference from the other financial advisors that are like
and that's
more,
a very good question.
Personal, yeah.
That's a very good question. So we basically do the same thing when it comes to the access that we have to companies and stuff like that. But our focus is because that's a philosophy. That's where we were born, right? So the founder of a company was not a financial guy, right? It was someone like me, like you, right? Like Main Street, and we're just filling a void. That's what we're doing, right? So just sitting down with somebody and go to the concepts, right? Before getting into too much details, because the product is going to come, right? Like by default, right? Okay. So it's not we base from fundamental truth, right? My need for protection is temporary because my needs are going to change. So there's nothing that nobody can argue with that. And I need to save and grow that money as much as possible.
So is there a difference from is there such thing as like different financial advisors? Like is there financial advisor that's Primerica and then a financial advisor that went to university and did all their
Well,
craziness?
yeah, the
Like
financial
what's the
planners,
difference?
the difference is that, let's say, our approach is more as a holistic one, right?
Okay.
Most financial planners, right, they sit down with you and they're going to talk about your assets. And most
Mm-hmm.
people don't have that, right? So we go through this extent of going through, okay, so what are your debts, right? We make a plan, right? Like for you to get rid of debt, right? For you to start saving for emergency purposes, right? If you want to save for your kids' education, this is how much you need, right? So we go to the strategy, right? Rather than just focus on, let's make your money grow.
Okay, yeah. So you're starting from the foundation up. Okay, all right, I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. Okay,
Yeah. Cool.
that sounds cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
no problem.
Thanks for your questions, Hirsch.
that was a good. Those are very
I was
good
listening. I was listening. All right, thanks.
questions.
Awesome, Pedro. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your information with us. And yeah, and thanks everyone else for coming. And like that, this will be on YouTube, so a lot more people will get to see it. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming on, and thank you, Pedro.
Oh no worries. It's a pleasure, and yeah, thank you for the time and the opportunity.
And
Thanks
would
a
you
lot to
like,
you both.
yeah, and would you like Pedro to give out your information so if people want to contact you?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you. This is my. Should I put it in here?
As long as you make it neat.
Yes, I know. I'm working towards that. And so 557-8266. That's my number. But yeah, like you can contact me. You can send me a text if there's like questions or whatever, general knowledge. But I'll send this booklet again. It's just general information. I'll send it to you, and you can distribute it the way you want it. I believe this is the first step for people start questioning and ask questions and you know take better decisions, right? Aim
100%.
to what they want to achieve. So I think that's a very great piece of information for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. It was really nice having everyone on. And on to the next episode. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you. Bye bye, guys.